Most of us are familiar with the concept of setting goals, but not many of us know an easy step-by-step process that we can follow to actually set the goals, take action and achieve them. So this is exactly what I'm going to be helping you with today in this video. We're going to be talking through how to set goals in the easiest possible way so that we can get set up for the new year and achieve the goals. The tutorial is going to be very simple. I'm going to split it into 3 parts. We're going to talk about number 1, which is the why we set goals, the importance of setting goals, and why we need to attach meaning to the goals that we set. Then part 2, which is the what. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the anatomy of goals, what kind of goals we can actually set, and make sure that we avoid pitfalls in setting goals that we can't actually achieve. And then number 3 is the how. So I will explain to you how to set some goals in specific timelines and then how to break those goals down so that we can start taking those daily actions that can help us achieve those goals. So we are ready to go. Let's get into it. Before going into the 3 parts, let's define what a goal is. A goal is a desired result or outcome with a deadline, or in other words, it's a dream with a deadline. So essentially, it's a result that we want to achieve by a certain period of time. And now, onto the 3-stage process. Part 1 is the why. Why do we need to set goals? We don't need to set goals, but goals give us a huge benefit and advantage if we want to create a specific kind of life or if we want to create specific kind of results in certain areas of our lives. A goal is essentially mapping out a destination so that we can have some kind of idea as to what direction we want to lead our lives into. The easiest analogy is a GPS. If we set out on our bike, for example, but we have absolutely no idea where we're going, we could just end up absolutely anywhere. And that could be fine, but if we want to achieve a specific destination, then the first step is to actually think about where we want to get to. So we may say, I want to go to point A over here. And then at least we know where we are, so the starting point, and then the end point, which is the end of the destination. Okay? So a goal is setting our destination so that we can then map out how we're going to get there. Goal setting allows us to give our lives direction. It allows us to gain clarity on what the final outcome is going to be for a particular goal, and then for us to break down that goal into smaller steps so that we know what actions we need to take in order to actually accomplish that goal. And it allows us to gain clarity on how we want to live our lives. So if we want to be running the London Marathon next year, or if we want to be publishing a book by next year, those 2 goals are really quite different and they require very different actions to be able to achieve them. But if we have no idea that we want to achieve either of those things, then it's going to be very unlikely that we take the right steps to get any of those goals actually achieved. So very important to set some goals so that we can give our lives direction, but never forgetting to actually enjoy the journey. So enjoying the process is equally as important, if not more important, than the actual goal. The goal is just there to guide us into the direction we want to go into. Part 2, the what. This is where I'm going to explain the anatomy of goals and explain to you what kinds of goals are the most effective to set so that we can actually achieve them. The first way to think about goals is in terms of a timeline. So we could set long-term goals, medium-term goals, or short-term goals. A long-term goal is usually something that's at 12 months away or more. A medium-term goal could be 3 to 6 months away, and a short-term goal maybe a month or so away. Usually when we start the goal setting process, and what we're going to be doing today is that we're going to pick about 2 to 3 goals that are going to be long-term goals, and let's think about them in, let's say, 12 months time, and then I'm going to teach you how to break those down. That's the first type of goal, and we always should attach a deadline to our goals, so that's a given. The next one is to differentiate between a be, a do, and a have goal. So a be goal could be, I want to be a great mom. A do goal could be, I want to run a marathon, and a have goal could be, I want to have a house by the sea. So it's quite important for us to differentiate what kind of goal we are working towards, and all 3 are absolutely fine, but they are different in terms of how we plan these goals. So be, do, have. Okay? That's the next one. The third way to think about goals is an end goal compared to a performance goal. An end goal is something that we want to achieve that may not necessarily be fully in our control, and our performance goal are the actions that we're committing to on a regular basis that are completely in our control. So an example would be someone that's writing a book. The performance goals could be, I'm going to write 3 hours a day from 9 a.m. till 12 p.m. Monday to Friday for the next 12 months in order to be able to publish my book by 31st of December 2024, okay? The end goal could be something like, I'm going to get published by the 31st of December 2024 and I'm going to hit the bestseller lists. Hitting the bestseller list may not be entirely in your control, and if you're working with a publishing house, then that deadline is also not entirely in your control because you've got other people you have to rely on, like editors and all that sort of stuff. So it's important for us to know the difference between an end goal and a performance goal, because if we only focus on end goals, then we could end up very disappointed or lose motivation because not everything around that goal is in our control. And if it's not in our control, then it's not something we can change or improve or pivot around. So very important to make that differentiation. The final thing to think about in terms of goals is whether they are in our comfort zone, our stretch zone, or our panic zone. Our comfort zone is where we live now, the things we're comfortable doing right now. Our stretch zone is the things we want to get to but feel a little bit scary, a little bit unknown, and maybe we need to pick up some new skills or try different things, and they feel a bit uncomfortable, but it allows us to then grow. Our panic zone is the zone where we just feel like, you know what, that's not realistic for me, or that's too much of a stretch for me, and we tend to never take action or end up paralyzed with fear if we try to make goals that are in our panic zone. So let's create goals that are in our stretch zone to help us to grow, to help us to achieve the goals, but let's make sure that we still keep them to a degree where we believe that we can achieve the goals, even if it feels scary, okay? So that's the final thing to think about there. Part 3, how to set the goals. Okay, so we're going to be thinking about how to actually set goals and break them down and come up with the actions that are going to help us to get those goals done. The first thing we want to do is to think about a big why that we are attaching to the goal we want to work on. So we want to set goals that are in alignment with what we want in our life. And that sounds really obvious, but actually a lot of us tend to set goals that unconsciously we believe we need to achieve, maybe because of family or society or religion or some other pressure that we have, or we've been conditioned to think that those goals are what we want. But it's really important for us to examine our goals. So if you have 2 or 3 goals that you're thinking of working on over the next 12 months, do a little bit of journaling and think about why is it that you want to achieve that goal. Another question you can ask yourself is, what will this give me? So for example, let's say that your goal is to achieve a promotion at work in 12 months' time, but you start examining why it is that you feel you need to achieve that, and you realize that you don't really care, but everyone around you where you work is going for promotions here, promotions there, and there's a lot of pressure from your boss to apply for different positions, and you feel that the culture at your work is pressurizing you into going for these positions, but you don't necessarily want it. If that's the case, get rid of that goal. Start thinking about goals that make you feel lit up, goals that make you feel excited to work towards, and really examine, why are you choosing a particular goal? What is that goal going to give to you, to your life, to the people around you? How is it going to benefit you? And the more that you examine your goals, the more you're able to gain clarity on whether that's the right goal to work on. There's an analogy that says that you can have a wall and a ladder, and no matter how high you climb on this ladder, if you are climbing the ladder against the wrong wall, ultimately, even when you get to the top, you're not going to be happy. So no point in working towards goals that are aligned to the wrong wall. What you want to make sure of is that you choose the right wall to begin with, align your ladder, i.e. your goals, to that wall and start working on that. We have to be really honest with ourselves when we're doing this part of the exercise, but it's key to be able to do this because it helps us to work on the right goals that are ultimately going to give us the life that we want. The next part is for us to actually decide what goals we want to work on. Ideally, we don't really want to be working on more than 2 to 3 goals, big goals, over the next 12 months because it just becomes very difficult and you're spread too thin. So make sure that you're discerning and you choose 2 to 3 areas that you want to work on and solely focus on that. This exercise is called the Wheel of Life, and you can follow along with a blank piece of paper, or you can have a look at the PDF that I've attached to the video. So if you look down below in the description, you can download that PDF. The Wheel of Life is essentially a snapshot of what our life is looking like right now. So what I want you to do, if you don't have the PDF, is just to draw a circle and then divide the circle into 10 sections. The categories for the sections I'm going to read out just now. But if any of them don't resonate with you, you can change it to a category that is more applicable to your life. But these are sort of 10 generic categories that most people would relate to. Okay, so I'll read those now. Spirituality, money and finances, career and work, health and fitness, fun and recreation, environment, community, family and friends, partner and love, personal growth and learning. So then, once you have your categories, you then want to score each category on a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 means you are not satisfied in that area at all. You don't feel you've achieved what you want to in that area whatsoever. 10 means you've achieved exactly what you want in that area and you're 10 out of 10, and then obviously anything in between. So feel free to pause the video just now and then score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 for each one of those areas. Okay, once you've scored yourself, then you can have a look at the picture and you can even just join the dots and it'll give you a little bit of a shape, and you'll be able to see what areas you are doing well in and which areas you want to work on in your life. And that's completely subjective. Even let's say that you want to launch your own business and you haven't yet launched it, but you feel really pleased with the fact that you are doing all the research and you're speaking to people and you've already got a few contacts and you are taking all of the right steps. You've taken off a day of work so that you can dedicate that to your business. So you're really happy with that progress you're making. You don't have to score a 1, you can score a 5 or a 6. You can score yourself on how you feel you're doing in that area in that given moment, even if you're not completely at the outcome that you want just yet. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Okay, and then once you have this Wheel of Life, then you'll be able to choose 2 to 3, maximum 3 goals potentially that you want to work on. Okay, so have a think about what you want to choose, and ideally maybe you want to get a little bit of a mix of goals that are related to your health, goals that are related to love and relationships, and goals that are related to work, because these are kind of the 3 main areas in our lives. So have a look and see, and maybe make sure that not all of your goals are completely just in one area, because it will help you to keep things a little bit more balanced, ideally. Okay, next we want to make sure our goals are SMART. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, recorded, and time-bound. We want to make sure our goals are specific so that we know exactly what we're working towards. We want to make sure that they're measurable, so we need to find a way where we can say, okay, I've achieved that goal, and we can tick it off. We want to make sure our goals are attainable, so that means can they be achieved realistically in the time period that I'm giving myself with the skill set and the resources that I have right now. If you can answer yes to that question, then the goal is attainable. Recorded means it's written down. There is so much evidence to show that when we write things down, they're much more likely to happen. So make sure you write your goals down. And finally, time-bound. Again, if we don't attach a deadline to the goal, then we're very unlikely to take the steps and to do the work to get to that goal. So make sure you attach a deadline to the goal. I'm going to show you how to turn a vague goal into a SMART goal so that you can put it into context. A vague goal could be something like, I want to run more next year. That's pretty vague. And now to turn it into a SMART goal, we could say something along the lines of, I commit to running 3 times per week, at least for 30 minutes per run. and I am going to run a 10-kilometer race by the 31st of December 2024 in under 2 hours. So that suddenly becomes a specific goal, as a goal that's very measurable, a goal that's attainable, because even for a beginner, that's pretty attainable for most people. Recorded, we want to obviously write it down in that very specific sort of way. And time bound, we have said by the 31st of December 2024, and we have specified when we're going to be running throughout the year. So that's one simple way of turning a vague goal into a SMART goal. So I encourage you to make sure that when you look at your goals and make sure that they tick all 5 of the SMART acronym, okay? And now the final part is to look at our long-term goal and to reverse engineer it into shorter term goals so that we can actually come up with the actions we need to take to achieve the goal. If we have a goal that's 12 months away, but we don't really know what else is in between, it's going to be really difficult to know what we're going to be working on, and we can lose motivation or not even start. So the easiest way is to take the long-term goal and to start thinking, okay, so if I want to achieve that in 12 months time, what's a rough halfway point that I need to achieve by the end of June this year? So that's 6 months time. So have a look at your goal. So let's say, for example, you want to be able to run 10 kilometers by the end of 2024. Roughly, you could set yourself the goal of being able to run 5 kilometers by the end of June 2024. So you've done the first bit of breaking it down. The next step is to take the medium-term goal and to work out what the short-term goal is. So short-term goal, the easiest one would be in a month's time. So with the same analogy, if you want to be able to run 5K by June, but you're not doing any running right now, what could you do between now and 4 weeks time, so a month's time, that could get you that step closer? So start thinking about the first 1 or 2 steps you need to take. So that for you could be, you're going to do 3 5-minute runs over the next 2 weeks. And then for the other 2 weeks, you're going to increase that to 10-minute runs. So by the end of month 1, you've already consistently been running 3 times a week, let's say, for 5 minutes initially, and then after 2 weeks, you've increased it to 10 minutes. Obviously, you have to think about your goal and the best way to be able to engineer your goal so that you can break it down and you can then calculate, okay, if I continue increasing by 10 or 20% every month, then I'll be able to hit my target by the end of June. And that will then help me to hit the target in December. So you need to set goals every week, little actions that are going to help you with your short-term goal, which we can think about in a month's time, and then start thinking and making sure that those goals are aligning with the medium-term goal, which is in 6 months' time, and the long-term goal, which is in 12 months' time. Sometimes we may end up working on something that takes us in a slightly different direction, and we may need to just pivot or adjust things. That's absolutely fine. But reviewing your goals on a weekly basis doesn't have to take any more than 2 to 3 minutes, but just make sure you think about final destination, what it is that you want to achieve, and then think, okay, long-term goal is this, medium-term goal is this is where I am now. How much am I on track to meet this medium-term goal, and start adjusting according to that. There's a lot more that we could talk about in terms of goal setting. Goal setting, it's a huge subject and it varies a lot from person to person. We can think about limiting beliefs and other things that get in the way, fears, self-doubt, self-worth, loads of other things that pop up. And there's a lot of scope to discuss in detail why we don't necessarily achieve goals and how we can overcome that. I do a lot of this obviously in my coaching, but we can still do a lot if we start focusing on getting our minds to think about goals. We can make so much progress if we even just start giving ourselves the space to dream about our goals and to start setting some actions to start working towards that. We can get a long way even if we're not working with a coach, but there is a lot more on this topic, and I do plan to make more videos about this to help you guys. So let me know if there's anything specific you'd like me to make videos on. I'm very happy to hear that. And of course, if you want to work with me as a coach, please feel free to book a free discovery session. Again, the link is in the description. I'm more than happy to talk to you at no obligation at all, see how I can help you, and see if you want to work with me as a coach. That's absolutely fine, but you are always welcome to that free discovery call first. Okay, I really hope that this session was helpful for you guys. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I genuinely hope that you go ahead and set your goals. It's so important to do, and it will mean that you can actually go ahead and achieve the things that you want to achieve this year. So go for it. You can do this. You've got this. And I really look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye!